Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be talking about my corn snake Frankie, as well as my history with reptiles and how I got back into the reptile keeping hobby. I grew up around reptiles and have kept reptiles most of my life. When I was a child, my family used to volunteer at a nearby state park. I used to spend my weekends camping and trying to catch wild snakes. My mom wanted to be a naturalist, so there was a huge influence on my life right there. So we had all sorts of reptilian pets growing up. The snakes that I kept as a child were ringneck snakes, garter snakes, water snakes, rat snakes, and eventually a ball python. Back in 2003, I went to college and got out of the snake keeping hobby as pets weren't allowed in the dorms. And when I moved off campus, most of the apartment complexes had reptile exclusion clauses in their lease. About 5 years ago, I bought a house and could finally keep all the reptiles I wanted. And I decided to ease back into the hobby by picking up an easy to care for snake. After doing lots of research, I settled on a corn snake and bought Frankie. Corn snakes to me are also one of the most beautiful and easy to care for snakes that you can get in the hobby as far as I'm concerned. I bought Frankie as a hatchling in April of 2017. I originally kept him on aspen, but had problems with shedding as the humidity in my house was way too low. I eventually moved him to shredded cypress, which did fix my humidity issues. It was around that time that I learned about bioactive enclosures. Curious, I read up on what was needed and redid his enclosure. The first few attempts were failures. I didn't have enough organic potting soil, so the plants eventually died due to not having enough nutrients. I also did not put any plants in the enclosure that were snake-proof. And what I mean by snake-proof is Frankie would eventually trample or uproot all the plants, and then of course they died. After some experimentation, I learned what plants were best and upgraded the enclosure to a 40-gallon Exoterra, and that setup has been thriving ever since. Frankie is one of the most chill snakes I've ever owned. This was not always the case. As a baby, he spent most of his days buried in his substrate. He was very squirmy and never really cared much about being held. At about 2.5 years old, when he reached his adult weight, he finally started to mellow out. He spends most of his days hiding under his water dish or laying out basking while watching the room. He's never tried to bite me or even rattle his tail, so he's a very calm snake. He's also a very curious snake, and he likes to investigate anything new that I put in his enclosure. At the time of this video, he's just under 5 feet. He's one of my best eaters, and so I use him as a garbage disposal. He eats the feeders that are rejected by my other snakes, so I don't have to waste any rodents. The only time he ever goes off feed is when he's in breeding mode in the springtime. I can always tell he's in breeding mode because he gets a little extra twitchy and he flinches at anything he touches. He also went off feeding once when we had a polar vortex in Ohio and I had difficulties keeping my house warm enough. And so he stopped eating for a couple weeks till the weather warmed up. He has an amazing personality and is a snake responsible for getting me back into the hobby. So if you're new to keeping snakes, corn snakes, in my opinion, are one of the best snakes to get for beginners. They have fantastic personalities, they're gorgeous, and they're really, really hardy. I hope you enjoyed today's reptile introduction. I'd like to do this with all 15 other snakes that I currently keep, as well as a few other reptiles that I own. Let me know if you'd like me to do more videos like this, as well as if you have any other ideas for videos, be sure to post them down in the comments. And also make sure to hit that like and subscribe button for more content. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.